My beloved child, listen carefully because what you are feeling right now is not coincidence, and it is not imagination. Something is shifting around your emotional world in ways you cannot fully explain yet. Don't skip this. Stay till the end, because what you are about to hear carries a message that has been forming in silence long before you ever realized it. Something huge is happening in your connection, even if there is distance, confusion, or unanswered questions right now. And what happened next changed everything when you realize your soulmate was never as far as you thought. They were simply becoming ready at the same time you were. For so long, you believed that if something was meant for you, it would feel easy, obvious, and immediate. But love that is meant to transform you does not arrive like that. It arrives in layers, timing, and emotional awakening. You've been sensing their presence in unusual ways lately, haven't you? Random thoughts, sudden memories, emotional waves that don't match your surroundings. Listen carefully, because this is not your mind playing tricks on you, this is alignment pulling two paths closer together. Something huge is waiting for you, and it is not just love arriving. It is recognition finally activating between two souls who were always connected beneath the surface. My beloved child, there is a reason you could never fully replace this person in your heart, even when you tried. You moved forward, you distracted yourself, you told yourself you were done, but something inside you never fully agreed. And the same is happening on their side too, even if you cannot see it. Stay till the end, because this is where truth becomes uncomfortable yet undeniable. Distance has not weakened this connection, it has clarified it. And what happened next changed everything when silence between you two started becoming louder than any conversation ever had. There is a hidden process unfolding right now that most people misunderstand when it comes to soulmate energy. It is not just about missing someone, it is about internal transformation happening simultaneously on both sides. You have been evolving through reflection, through loneliness, through emotional awakening that forced you to understand your own heart more deeply. And they have been going through their own version of that same process. Listen carefully. This is why the connection has not fully disappeared. Something huge is waiting for you, but it requires both of you to become emotionally ready, not just emotionally attached. And yes, there were moments when it felt like they were slipping away completely. Moments of doubt, moments of silence, moments where you questioned if any of it was real at all. But what you didn't realize is that true connection does not vanish under silence, it matures under it. What happened next changed everything when you realized that the absence you felt was not rejection, it was preparation happening in unseen ways. Because sometimes God does not remove someone from your life, He removes the timing, until both hearts are aligned enough not to destroy what is meant to last. My beloved child, I need you to understand something deeply right now. The reason this connection still feels alive inside you is because it is not finished, it is paused in transformation. And during this pause, your emotional awareness has grown stronger, sharper, more honest than before. You no longer love from confusion, you love from recognition. Stay till the end, because this is where clarity begins to replace fear. What you are feeling is not obsession, it is unfinished alignment calling both of you back into balance. There are things they have not said, emotions they have not expressed, thoughts they have not admitted even to themselves. But silence does not erase emotion. It only delays expression. And in that silence, realization grows louder. You may not see their struggle, but there are moments when your energy crosses their thoughts unexpectedly, moments when they feel something they cannot explain. And what happened next changed everything when you realize that distance is not separation, it is the space where truth finally becomes undeniable. Something is about to shift in this connection, not because of pressure, not because of chasing, but because internal resistance is starting to break on both sides. My beloved child, you are being guided into a moment where emotional clarity becomes impossible to ignore. And when that happens, everything that was once uncertain starts to feel strangely familiar again. Something huge is waiting for you, but it will not come through force. It will come through timing, healing, and recognition that cannot be denied anymore. And now the message becomes clear: your soulmate is closer than ever, not physically, but energetically, emotionally, and spiritually aligned toward a turning point. The distance that once confused you is now becoming the very thing that brings understanding. Stay till the end, because what happens next is not about waiting, it is about preparation. And when the moment finally arrives, you will realize that nothing was lost, it was all being guided back into place. My beloved child, if you are still here, it means something inside you already recognizes that this is not just emotional storytelling, it is something deeper unfolding around your connection. Don't skip this. Stay till the end, because is where clarity begins to replace confusion, and where silence starts revealing what words never could. Something huge is shifting between you and your soulmate right now, even if nothing on the surface seems to have changed yet. And what happened next changed everything when you realized that the quiet phase you've been living through was never empty, it was preparation. For a long time, you thought the lack of communication meant distance, and distance meant disconnection. But listen carefully, because that interpretation has been misleading your heart. In reality, silence often becomes the space where emotions grow without interruption, where realization becomes unavoidable, where truth stops being avoidable. You may have felt like you were the only one still holding on, but what you don't see is how often your energy still appears in their thoughts in unexpected moments. Something huge is waiting for both of you, but it requires emotional readiness, not emotional panic. My beloved child, there is a reason this connection never fully left your system. Even in moments where you tried to detach, distract yourself, or convince yourself it was over, something in you stayed emotionally connected. And that is not weakness, it is unresolved alignment. Stay till the end, because this is where things begin to shift internally for both sides. The connection you are feeling is not fading, it is restructuring. And what happened next changed everything when the emotional distance started becoming the very thing forcing both hearts to understand what they truly feel. There have been moments when you suddenly felt them again without reason. A wave of emotion, a memory, a thought that felt too specific to be random. And you probably dismissed it as overthinking, but listen carefully, energy does not ask permission to be felt. It moves through silence, through memory, through emotional resonance that cannot be easily explained. Something huge is waiting for you, and it is not just about reunion, it is about recognition at a deeper level than before. And on their side, there is something you do not see. Moments of reflection they don't share, thoughts they don't express, internal conflict they try to ignore. But avoidance does not erase emotion, it only delays confrontation. And in that delay, understanding begins to build quietly. What happened next changed everything when you realized that the person you are connected to is also being pulled into awareness they can no longer ignore. Because real connections don't fade, they evolve through realization. My beloved child, this is where your patience is being spiritually tested. Not to make you suffer, but to make sure you do not confuse timing with loss. You may feel uncertainty, but underneath that uncertainty, something is stabilizing. The emotional chaos you once felt is slowly being replaced with deeper understanding, even if it doesn't feel complete yet. Stay till the end, because this is where truth becomes heavier but clearer. If this connection was truly meaningless, it would not still be affecting you this deeply after all this time. Something is shifting right now in ways you cannot see, but you can feel. That subtle sense that something is not finished, that feeling that the story between you two still has unfinished pages. And you are right, but not in the way fear interprets it. It is not unfinished because it is broken, it is unfinished because it is still forming. And what happened next changed everything when you realized that separation was never the end of the connection, it was the beginning of emotional awakening for both of you. My beloved child, do not mistake delay for denial. What is meant for you does not disappear just because it pauses. It transforms, it matures, it realigns. And right now, both hearts are being guided through that silent transformation, even if neither of you fully understands it yet. Something huge is waiting for you, but it cannot arrive through force or fear, it arrives through alignment that no longer denies what the heart already knows. And now the message becomes undeniable, this connection is not over, it is unfolding. Not in chaos, but in timing. Not in confusion, but in realization. Stay till the end, because is not the ending, it is the deepening. And when the next shift arrives, you will understand that nothing was ever truly lost, it was only being prepared to return in a stronger form than before. My beloved child, if you've reached this point, something in you is no longer able to ignore the weight of this connection, and that is exactly why this message continues. Don't skip this. Stay till the end, where emotional illusion begins to break, and truth starts speaking louder than hope, louder than fear, louder than silence itself. Something huge is shifting right now between you and your soulmate, even if nothing physical has changed yet. And what happened next changed everything when you realized that the strongest transformations always begin where nothing seems to be happening at all. There is a moment in every deep connection where confusion reaches its peak, not because the bond is weakening, but because clarity is trying to emerge through resistance. You may have questioned everything recently, what they feel, where they stand, whether you imagined the depth of this connection at all. Listen carefully, because this phase is not a sign of loss, it is a sign of emotional recalibration. Something huge is waiting for you, but it cannot enter a space still filled with uncertainty and emotional distortion. My beloved child, what you are experiencing right now is not detachment, it is refinement. The emotional intensity that once overwhelmed you is now being replaced with deeper awareness, even if it feels like emptiness at times. But emptiness is not absence, it is space being created for truth to finally settle in. Stay till the end, because this is where the connection begins to show its real nature, not fantasy, not fear, but something far more grounded than you realized. There are thoughts you keep returning to, moments you replay, conversations you never had but still feel unfinished in your mind. And you may wonder why your heart refuses to fully disengage. Listen carefully, because emotional bonds like this do not survive imagination alone. They survive resonance, timing, and shared internal transformation. What happened next changed everything when you realized that the more you try to mentally release it, the more your heart continues to acknowledge it. On their side, something is also shifting in ways you cannot fully see yet. Not dramatic action, not sudden confession, but subtle internal conflict. Moments where silence feels heavier than usual. Moments where your memory unexpectedly appears in their awareness. Moments they cannot explain, so they dismiss them. But dismissal does not equal disappearance. Something huge is unfolding beneath the surface, and it is pulling both of you toward emotional honesty whether you are ready or not. My beloved child, this is where patience becomes powerful instead of painful. Because what feels like waiting is actually restructuring. The connection is learning how to exist without confusion, without pressure, without distortion. And that process takes time, not because love is delayed, but because clarity is being built slowly on both sides. Stay till the end, because this is the turning point where emotional intensity begins transforming into emotional truth. You may feel moments of doubt again, but notice something important: those doubts no longer feel as absolute as they once did. They come and go. They rise and fall. And in between them, something steady remains. That steady feeling is not confusion. It is recognition trying to stabilize itself. And what happened next changed everything when you realized that real connections do not stay chaotic forever, they evolve into understanding, even through distance. My beloved child, you are being guided into a phase where emotional noise begins to quiet down so truth can finally be heard. Not rushed, not forced, not imagined, heard. And in that quiet, you will start to understand the difference between what your fear created and what your soul already knew. Something huge is waiting for you, but it requires emotional clarity, not emotional urgency. And now the message becomes clear: this is not the end of your connection, and it is not the beginning either, it is the unfolding. Stay till the end, where everything you thought was uncertain begins forming into something you can finally understand. And when that understanding arrives, you will realize that nothing was ever truly lost, it was only learning how to become real in a deeper way. My beloved child, if you are still here, it means something inside you has stopped dismissing this as coincidence and started recognizing it as reflection. Don't skip this. Stay till the end, because part 4 is where emotional resistance begins to crack, and what was once uncertain starts feeling uncomfortably clear. Something huge is unfolding between you and your soulmate right now, even if nothing external has shifted in a visible way. And what happened next changed everything when you realized that the deepest shifts never announce themselves, they reveal themselves slowly, through inner knowing you can't silence anymore. There is a stage in every powerful connection where silence stops feeling empty and starts feeling meaningful. You begin noticing patterns in your own emotions that don't match your environment. Sudden thoughts. Familiar feelings. A pull toward someone you're not actively speaking to, yet still deeply connected with. Listen carefully, because this is not imagination, it is emotional resonance surfacing through distance. Something huge is waiting for you, but it requires both hearts to stop running from what they already feel. My beloved child, you have been trying to understand this connection with logic, but logic has never been the language of deep emotional bonds like this. You've analyzed, questioned, overthought, and replayed moments trying to find clarity where only feeling exists. And now you are entering a phase where thinking less is unavoidable, because feeling more is taking over. Stay till the end, because this is where truth becomes heavier than confusion, and you can no longer fully ignore what your heart already knows beneath the noise. There are moments when you suddenly feel emotionally exposed without reason, as if something unseen has gently touched your inner world. And you may think it's random, but it keeps happening at specific emotional thresholds, moments of loneliness, reflection, or stillness. Listen carefully. This is where energetic connection becomes noticeable in human experience. Not as fantasy, but as emotional awareness rising to the surface. What happened next changed everything when you realized that distance does not silence connection, it amplifies internal recognition. And on their side, something is also shifting in a way they cannot fully articulate. Not dramatic action, not sudden return, but subtle emotional unrest. Moments where they think of you without intending to. Moments where your absence feels louder than expected. Moments they dismiss, yet cannot fully erase. Something huge is unfolding beneath their awareness, and it is slowly forcing emotional honesty into places they have kept quiet for too long. My beloved child, this is the phase where avoidance begins to lose its power. Because what is real does not need constant attention to remain real, it only needs truth to eventually surface. And truth always rises when emotional resistance weakens. Stay till the end, because this is where the connection begins transitioning from confusion into recognition, even if neither of you is speaking about it yet. You may still feel uncertainty, but notice how it has changed. It no longer consumes you the way it once did. Instead, it lingers, softly, like something unfinished that refuses to be ignored. That is not confusion, it is emotional awareness becoming stable enough to hold truth without collapsing into fear. And what happened next changed everything. When you realize that real love does not disappear in silence, it becomes more honest within it. My beloved child, you are entering a stage where emotional clarity is beginning to outgrow emotional fear. And that shift changes everything. Because once clarity begins forming, you can no longer fully return to illusion. Something huge is waiting for you, but it requires emotional honesty, not emotional escape. And now the message becomes undeniable. This connection is not fading, it is deepening in ways you cannot yet fully see. Stay till the end, not the end of the story, it is the moment where the story stops feeling like confusion and starts becoming recognition. And when that recognition fully lands, you will understand that nothing was ever lost, it was simply learning how to reveal itself at the right time. My beloved child, if you are still here, it means something inside you has already crossed the point of doubt and entered the space of understanding, even if you're still trying to make sense of it. Don't skip this. Stay till the end, because this is the final message, where confusion finally settles and everything you've been feeling starts forming into something steady, something clear, something real. Something huge has been unfolding between you and your soulmate, but not in the way your mind expected. It has been unfolding in timing, healing, and inner awakening. And what happened next changed everything when you realized the connection was never lost, it was being prepared. For so long, you thought love was supposed to feel constant in communication, constant in presence, constant in visibility. But this connection has been teaching you something deeper without you even realizing it. It has been teaching you emotional maturity, patience, awareness, and the difference between attachment and alignment. Listen carefully, because this is where everything becomes simple. What is meant for you does not need chasing, forcing, or overthinking to remain real. It only needs truth, and truth has been growing quietly within both of you this entire time. My beloved child, you are no longer the same person who first felt this connection. You've changed through it. You've grown through the silence, through the questions, through the emotional waves you could not explain. And on their side, the same transformation has been happening in ways you cannot see yet. Stay till the end, because this is where closure turns into understanding. What you thought was distance was actually development. What you thought was confusion was actually alignment forming slowly beneath the surface. There were moments when you almost gave up, moments when you almost convinced yourself it was only in your head, moments when you tried to disconnect but couldn't fully let go. And that is because real connections do not rely on constant presence, they rely on recognition that does not disappear even when silence increases. Something huge is waiting for both of you, but it is no longer waiting in uncertainty, it is waiting in readiness. And now listen carefully, because this is the truth your heart has been approaching all along. If a connection truly belongs to your path, it will not require you to lose yourself to keep it alive. It will not demand confusion. It will not force emotional chaos. Instead, it will lead you back to clarity, even through distance. And what happened next changed everything when you realized that peace was always the final sign, not anxiety, not fear, not obsession. My beloved child, this is where the message completes itself. You are not being asked to chase. You are not being asked to force. You are not being asked to obsess over timing or outcomes. You are being asked to trust what is real, while continuing to grow into the version of yourself that can receive it without losing balance. Because the strongest connections do not survive intensity, they survive truth, healing, and emotional maturity. And here is the ending you needed to hear. Your soulmate is not lost, and you are not behind. You are both being guided into alignment at the same time, even if the paths look separate right now. And when the timing is right, there will be no confusion in recognition, only clarity, calmness, and understanding that feels natural, not forced. Something huge is waiting for you, but it is no longer something to chase, it is something to arrive into. So my beloved child, take this as your final message today. Stop feeding fear, stop feeding uncertainty, and start feeding your own growth. Because the version of you that is aligned, whole, and emotionally steady is the version that naturally meets what is meant for you. And when that moment comes, you will look back at everything you questioned and finally understand, it was never distance that defined your story, it was divine timing preparing both hearts to finally recognize each other in peace.